Well, this is an interesting little problem found on page 241 at a real world example 5, solve equations by factoring. Let's see, Juan recorded his brother bungee jumping from a height of 1,100 feet. At the time the cord lifted his brother back up, he was 76 feet above the ground. If Juan started recording as soon as his brother fell, how much time elapsed when the cord snapped back? Use f of t equals negative 16t squared plus c, where c is the height in feet. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Okay, so he started jumping at 1,100 feet, and he fell until he got 76 feet above the ground. So Juan's recording it. We want to find out how much time elapsed before or by the time the cord snapped back, which means that he fell from 1,100 feet to a height of 76 feet. So if I subtract 76 from 1,100, let's see, I believe that's going to equal 1,024. So he actually fell 1,024 feet before the cord snapped back. So I can substitute in, let's see, that's the height in feet that he fell, would be 1,024. So I can use this equation, negative 16t, and that's times, we're trying to find the time, plus 1,024. All right, 16, negative 16 and 1024. Well, I know that 16 is divisible by 4. And I see that 4 sitting out here, 24. So I'm thinking 1024 might be divisible by 16. I wonder if 1,024 is also divisible by 16. Let's see. Get my calculator here. Then we got 1024 divided by negative 16. Well, that's going to equal negative 64. So I can factor out negative 16. And when I do, I've got t squared minus 64. Now, this t squared minus 64 is an example of the difference of squares. So if I'm going to factor that, I'm going to approach it the same way. I'm going to put 2 parentheses out here. And I've got a coefficient of 1 with this t, so I'm going to have a t on the left side. Now what about my sign? I got a negative 64, but I have no middle term. But since this is a difference of squares, t squared, 1t squared, well, the square root of that is just t. And 64, the square root of that is plus or minus 8. And when I've got a difference of squares in my parentheses, I'm going to have a plus and a minus. And 64 squared is 8, so I can have t plus 8 and t minus 8. Let's kind of foil that back in our heads before we solve. Let's see, t times t is t squared. T times negative 8 is negative 8t. Positive 8 times t is positive 8t, so the negative 8t and the 8t are going to cancel out. And 8 times negative 8 is negative 64, so there we go. And we would just simply set each factor, again, equal to 0, and solve that. And on this side, I'd subtract t from both sides, so I got t equals negative 8. But we're dealing in time. And with time, it can't be negative, so that's not an answer, that's not a solution to the problem that I've been asked, which is how much time elapsed. So let's see, well, let's solve the other side. T minus 8 equals 0. We're going to add 8 to both sides. So t is equal to 8. And, all right, that's cool. So our time is 8 seconds, and that should be our answer. All right, a real-life example of how we might use a quadratic equation and using factoring to solve for a specific solution. Shazam!